Welcome to Creepy Conjures, where the eerie meets the unexplained. Step into a world of dark tales and sinister secrets, where every story is a doorway to fear. Dare to enter, and let the nightmares begin. Story number 1. It was supposed to be my day off, but here I am, closing up the gas station on the busiest day of the holiday season. The register was so packed, it looked like a jackpot hit, and I couldn't remember the last time I saw that much cash in the drawer. Everyone had been scrambling for last-minute road trip snacks or fuel before heading off to their Christmas destinations. As I wrapped up my shift, exhaustion set in. The hum of fluorescent lights and the whir of the slushy machine was the only sound keeping me company. That's when I noticed the car. Parked in the far corner of the lot, it looked like a heap of metal barely holding together. Rusted, dented, with a cracked windshield and no headlights on. I squinted at it through the window for a second, my tired brain trying to make sense of why someone would leave their car out there. But it's Christmas. People get stranded, right? I shook it off and went back to the routine. Lock the doors, turn off the pumps, clean up the cafe area, scrub the coffee pots, and wipe down the greasy rollers. The last thing on my list was counting the cash. I headed into the cash office, locked the door behind me, and started stacking bills. The drawer was heavier than usual, and I tried not to let the sight of all that money make me feel nervous. This town could be sketchy at times, especially during the holidays, but it wasn't like anything had ever happened to me here. Bang. The noise echoed through the empty store. I froze, my heart racing. Maybe something fell, or maybe not. I held my breath for a moment, waiting, but all I could hear was the buzz of the neon Bud Light sign. I finished counting the cash, double-checking every bill before sealing the deposit in a plastic pouch. Just as I stood up to leave the cash office, the lights in the store went out. The only thing illuminating the place was that stupid neon sign, casting an eerie blue glow over everything. I cracked open the door, my hand trembling on the knob. That's when he jumped out from behind the display. A man, wearing a ski mask, his dark eyes wild with desperation. My heart leapt into my throat, and I stumbled back into the office. "Give me the money!" he shouted, stepping closer, his voice hoarse and frantic. I tried to stay calm, my back pressed against the cold steel of the safe. I can't. It's already locked in the safe. I don't have the combination. He waved his hand threateningly, but there was no gun in sight. Still, the look in his eyes was enough to tell me he wasn't messing around. "Figure it out, or I'll make sure you never leave this place." I swallowed hard, trying to recall the combination. There was one time, just once, I had to open it when the owner was late for his shift. My fingers shook as I dialed the numbers, my breath coming out in short, panicked bursts. The man stood too close, his breath hot on my neck, muttering under his breath. He was getting more agitated by the second. "Come on, hurry up," he hissed, stepping closer again. That was it. I panicked. Without thinking, I turned and kicked him as hard as I could in the stomach. He stumbled back, cursing, and I slammed the heavy door shut, locking myself inside the safe room. With my hands shaking, I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911, trying to explain the situation while keeping my voice low. The dispatcher reassured me that help was on the way, but every second felt like an eternity. Finally, after what felt like forever, I heard sirens. The police arrived, and it wasn't long before they found the guy hiding in the dumpster behind the station, like a rat scurrying for cover. He was an old employee, one I vaguely remembered, and apparently he figured this was the best time to make a quick buck. Christmas cash was always the largest. The cops said he was high out of his mind. Crack pipes found in his pockets confirmed that. As I sat in the back of the police car, watching the flashing lights reflect off the gas pumps, all I could think was, this was supposed to be my day off. Story number 2. The road to the mountains twisted like a snake through the dense Georgia woods. After weeks of finals, this trip felt like a reward, a breath of fresh air. Kim sat in the back, scrolling through her phone, while Alex, Luke and I hummed along to a song blasting from the radio. The cabin awaited, tucked high in the mountains, promising a weekend of relaxation, laughter, and much-needed time away from campus. As we crested another hill, the gaslight flickered on, and we decided to stop at a small station, nestled in what looked like a forgotten town. The kind of place you drive by without even noticing. The paint on the buildings was peeling, the signs faded, and the air seemed still. Too still. But we had no choice. We needed gas, and everyone wanted snacks before the final stretch to the cabin. The moment we stepped inside the store, I felt it. Eyes, watching us, staring. The shelves were dusty, stocked with outdated brands. A large Confederate flag hung near the back wall, and similar flags draped the sides of the windows. I saw Kim stiffen, her usual confidence replaced by unease. I could tell she'd noticed the flags too. "Just grab what we need," I whispered to her. "We'll be out of here soon." As we picked up chips, drinks, and other snacks, an old woman behind the counter stared us down. Her skin was wrinkled and weathered. Her beady eyes narrowed in on Kim, as if she were something offensive. My stomach knotted, but I tried to shake off the feeling. When we approached the counter, I smiled politely and set the snacks down. Kim stood slightly behind me, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. The old woman didn't move, her face twisted into a scowl. "We don't sell to foreigners." I froze. "Excuse me?" Her voice was cold and harsh, each word dripping with venom. "You heard me. Get out. We don't sell to your kind." Kim's eyes widened in disbelief. I saw the hurt and fear flicker across her face, and something inside me snapped. "Lady, just ring this up and we'll be on our way," I said, my voice sharp, trying to mask my own growing fear. The woman didn't blink. Instead, she turned her head towards the back of the store. "Jimmy!" she hollered, her voice cracking like a whip. "They're trying to steal." My heart pounded as a tall, burly man emerged from a shadowed corner, shotgun in hand. He walked slowly, purposefully, a smile creeping onto his face as if he'd been waiting for this moment. The sound of the shotgun being cocked shattered the tension. Panic surged through my veins. Without thinking, I grabbed Kim's arm and bolted for the door, yelling for Alex and Luke to follow. My legs felt like lead, my breath ragged as I yanked the door open, the bell above it jingling mockingly as we sprinted outside. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. As the engine roared to life, I glanced back and saw the woman standing in the doorway, Jimmy beside her, the shotgun resting on his shoulder. That cold smile still plastered on his face. We sped away, the tension inside the car thick, no one daring to speak. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel, my mind racing. When we finally reached the cabin, it didn't feel like the sanctuary we'd hoped for. The trees seemed darker, the air colder. We were safe, but the lingering fear clung to us. Kim sat on the edge of the couch, silent, her face pale. "I think we should leave," Luke whispered, his voice shaking. I wanted to agree. I wanted to tell them all that we could pack up and head back home, back to somewhere safe. But the thought of driving through those woods, through that town, with those people watching. No one moved. We were trapped, not by the walls of the cabin, but by the terror we had just escaped. Story number 3. It was late, too late to still be on the road. My eyes stung from exhaustion, the white lines on the highway blurring together. The rhythmic hum of the tires rolling across the asphalt lulled me into a trance-like state, and I knew I needed to stop soon before I drifted off completely. I glanced at my phone. No signal. The little battery symbol blinked angrily, urging me to find a place to charge. I wasn't even sure where I was anymore. somewhere between civilization and the middle of nowhere. The highway had been deserted for miles, not a car in sight, just the empty, starless sky above me. Then, like a beacon, I spotted a flickering neon sign up ahead. Gas station. Relief washed over me as I steered the car off the exit ramp and into the small gravel lot. The gas station was old, run down, with peeling paint and a sign that creaked in the slight wind. There were no other cars around, and the place looked like it hadn't seen a customer in years. The windows were dark, but the lights over the pump still buzzed and glowed weakly. I parked near the pump and stepped out. The cool night air hit me like a slap, waking me up a little. I rubbed my eyes and stretched, feeling my spine crack in protest. The restroom was around the side of the building, marked by a faded men's sign hanging askew. I grabbed my wallet and phone, locking the car behind me, and made my way toward it. The light inside the restroom flickered erratically, casting long, uneven shadows against the stained tiles. The place smelled like it hadn't been cleaned in ages, but I was too tired to care. I did what I needed to do, washed my hands in the rusted sink, and glanced at myself in the cracked mirror. My reflection stared back at me, gaunt, tired, with dark circles under my eyes. I needed sleep. As I stepped outside, something felt off. The air had grown colder, and the wind had picked up, howling softly as it swept through the deserted station. I could see my car in the distance, but something tugged at my instincts, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I paused for a moment, scanning the area. That's when I saw him. A man stood by the corner of the building, half hidden in the shadows. He was tall, wearing a heavy jacket despite the mild weather. His face was obscured by the brim of his baseball cap, but I could feel his eyes on me, watching, waiting. My heart rate spiked. I looked at my car, so close yet suddenly so far away. I turned my back on him, forcing my legs to move faster, my hands already fishing in my pocket for the keys. Don't look back. Just get to the car. You're being paranoid. But then I heard it. Footsteps. Quick, heavy footsteps. He was following me. Panic surged through my veins as I broke into a sprint, my fingers fumbling with the key fob. I could hear the man behind me now, closer, his breath heavy, his boots crunching against the gravel. I threw myself into the driver's seat, slamming the door shut just as he reached for me. His hand smacked against the glass, leaving a greasy print as I frantically started the engine. The car roared to life, and I jammed the gear shift into drive, the tires screeching as I sped out of the lot. In the rearview mirror, I saw him stumble backward, his face twisted in frustration. I thought I was free, but then my blood ran cold. Headlights appeared behind me, bright and menacing. The man had jumped into a dark van, its engine roaring as it gave chase. I floored the gas pedal, the speedometer climbing higher as I flew down the highway. The van stayed right behind me, its headlights glaring like eyes, always too close. My hands shook on the steering wheel, knuckles white as I swerved to avoid potholes, debris, anything that might slow me down. The road stretched out ahead, empty, infinite, as if I were the only person left in the world. Just me and him. Every time I thought I could lose him, the van closed the gap, riding my bumper. He was toying with me, herding me, like a predator playing with its prey. My phone still had no signal, and the battery was nearly dead. I couldn't call for help. It was just me, alone on this godforsaken highway, with a madman hunting me down. Then, the van made its move. It pulled up alongside me, its engine growling like some wild beast. I glanced to my left and saw him through the passenger window. His face was twisted into a wicked grin, his eyes wild with excitement. Without warning, the van swerved toward me, trying to push me off the road. I jerked the wheel to the right, narrowly avoiding the collision. My car skidded on the gravel shoulder, tires squealing as I fought to keep control. The van swerved again, this time harder, My car rocked violently as it was forced toward the ditch. I had no choice. I swerved back, my car clipping the side of the van. The impact was brutal, metal screeching as sparks flew. But instead of losing control, the van veered sharply to the left, careening off the road. I watched in the rearview mirror as it crashed through a fence and disappeared into the darkness beyond. My heart pounded in my chest as I sped away, my hands trembling on the wheel. I didn't slow down until the gas station was miles behind me, until the van was just a distant memory in my mind. Eventually, I spotted another gas station, this one lit up and bustling with cars. I pulled in, my hands still shaking as I stumbled out of the car and ran inside to the counter. "I need help," I gasped, my voice hoarse. There was a van. A man. He tried to run me off the road. The cashier blinked at me, confused. "You all right, buddy? You look like you've seen a ghost." I nodded, trying to catch my breath. "Please, call the cops." 20 minutes later, a sheriff's car pulled up, its lights flashing. The officer took my statement, nodding as I recounted the terrifying chase. His face was stern, unreadable, as he scribbled down notes. "We'll take a look," he said, glancing back at his partner. "You stay put here. We'll go check the area." I sat in the station's small cafe, sipping on a coffee that did nothing to calm my nerves, waiting. The minutes stretched on, feeling like hours, until finally the sheriff returned. "Did you find him?" I asked, my voice a little too eager. "The van?" The sheriff shook his head. "We found some damage to a fence post, but no van, no tire tracks, nothing. Are you sure you didn't just fall asleep at the wheel? You said you were tired." I felt my blood turn cold. "I'm telling you the truth. I saw it crash. It was right there." The sheriff gave me a long, measured look. "We'll keep an eye out, but if there was a van, it's gone now." He handed me his card. "If you think of anything else, give us a call." I nodded numbly, taking the card but knowing deep down they wouldn't find anything. The man in the van had vanished, as if he had never existed. But I knew what I had seen. The fear that gripped me was real. And the van, it was out there somewhere, waiting for its next victim. You've reached the end of another dark tale from Creepy Conjures. If the story left you with chills, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more haunting horrors. Don't forget to ring the bell so you'll be the first to know when the next nightmare is unleashed. Until we meet again, stay safe if you can.